A mentally ill teenage girl was recently sent to juvenile detention for not completing her homework. So now this happened in Detroit to a young girl, a 15-year-old named Grace. Now, her last name, of course, is omitted to protect her identity because she is still a minor. Now, she had some behavioral issues, mental health issues, ADHD, mood disorders. And so, of course, she had lashed out and had gotten in trouble. In fact, she was on probation for conflicts that she had had with her mother, as well as stealing from classmates. So now apparently this was enough to have the judge deem her as a danger to the community. So now, for me, look, I understand that what she was doing was serious, obviously. But what teenager hasn't fought with their parents? And look, let's be honest. I had a friend in middle school, who used to steal from the local store all the time. He didn't have no mental illness, but he also wasn't black and was a man. And so the point is, he also grew up to be a pretty decent guy, but he didn't go to prison for any of this. He did get caught and banned from the store, though. Rightfully so, I think. But anyway, according to the story, this was done by ProPublica, right? And it was a massive, massive breakdown. I'm only going to be able to give you basically a synopsis of what happened. But what happened is that she was incarcerated back in May for violating probation. So now earlier when she had gotten in trouble for stealing and fighting with her mother, she had went to court virtually, of course, because of coronavirus. And they said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put you on probation, right? We're going to put you on probation. And, some of the provisions of your probation is to not to break the law, obviously, but also to do your schoolwork. So now they switched to online learning. Her school was in Beverly Hills. And that is, of course, in Detroit, not California. And so with online learning, with her disabilities, made it a lot more difficult for her to be able to stay on task in order to get her schoolwork done. And so as a result of missing that schoolwork, they sent her to juvenile detention during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, here's what ProPublica wrote about her issues, right? Grace, who has ADHD, said she felt unmotivated and overwhelmed when online learning began on April 15th. About a month after schools closed, without much live instruction or structure, she was easily distracted and had difficulty keeping herself on track. Now, I get it. She has learning issues. Millions of Americans have learning issues. But you're not going to be surprised to find out that she's black and therefore seemed to have been treated a little bit more harshly by our justice system. And so, look, not only that, but even people who don't have ADHD or any sort of learning disorder, they're still finding it very difficult to sit through online courses, not being, in the classroom, not having that hands-on instruction or personal attention from the teachers, instructors, all that stuff. That can be pretty difficult to learn in that environment. And so that said, what are we going to do? Open up the schools? No, that's a terrible idea because right now COVID-19 is raging. And so what do? Well, I don't know what you do. I do know what you don't do is you don't throw, special needs children into juvenile detention. You just can't do that. So now Governor Gretchen Whitmer, again, she's a governor of Michigan. She did put out an executive order that suspended the confinement of juveniles who violate probation unless directed by a court order. So the whole purpose of that is to prevent situations like this from happening. Now, she also encouraged eliminating any form of detention or residential placement unless a young person posed what she called a substantial and immediate safety risk to others. And acting on Whitmer's order, which was extended until late May, the Michigan Supreme Court told juvenile court judges to determine which juveniles could be returned home. Now, the judge in this case was Mary Ellen Brennan. and she's the presiding judge of the Oakland County Family School Court Division. Now, she found that Grace was guilty on failure to submit any schoolwork and getting up for school, and called Grace a, quote, threat to the community, citing her assault of her mother and theft charges that led to her probation in the first place. Now, again, when she actually got put on probation, like right afterwards, that's when she started doing online school. So now during the time that she was home online, she was also getting counseling, and that led to no incidents, right? In fact, everything went fine with her mother, and she was doing her best on school. But of course, without that in-person instruction, without that extra structure, it kind of fell apart, where she did not get some of her assignments done, and that was enough to constitute a violation of her probation, leading her to get incarcerated. So, again, Brennan said, she has not fulfilled the expectation with regard to school performance. I told her she was on thin ice, and I told her that I was going to hold her to the letter, to the order of the probation. Now, let me ask you, would any other 15-year-old be treated like that with zero tolerance, right? Even though they are actually trying. And later on, of course, in the story, they tell her about how she's actually really, trying her best, even though she has difficulties. In fact, in the months following the incidents, which she had put in probation for, Grace and her mother participated in individual and family therapy, and Grace stayed out of trouble. Now, her mother said that other than, of course, a little bit of irritability, a little bit of cabin fever from being, of course, shut in because of the coronavirus, nothing significant had happened. Nothing bad between the mother and daughter. She was behaving well, and she was doing the best that she could. But apparently, that was not enough to keep her out of prison. So now her disabilities, according to her records, said that she gets distracted easily and abandons her work, symptoms of ADHD, and a mood disorder. And as a result, had an individualized education plan. Now, it spelled out that the school supports that she should receive required teachers to check in on her periodically, to make sure she was on task, to clarify the material, and allow her extra time to complete assignments and tests. However, when the remote learning began, she did not get that support. She told her caseworker that she had felt overwhelmed, anxious about probation requirements, and had a lot of difficulty adjusting to online learning without any sort of support. What happened to her as well is that she had overslept one morning after her check-in, and, well, that was enough for her new caseworker to file a violation of probation against her for not doing the schoolwork. She told the prosecutor she planned to ask the judge to detain Grace because she clearly doesn't want to abide by the rules of the community, according to the case notes. Now, she actually did check in every day, complied with other requirements of intensive probation. She stayed at home. She obeyed all the laws. And all she needed was just a little bit of extra help. That's it. And she started receiving daily tutoring the day after the probation violation was filed. And still, the caseworker said no, not enough. Not enough. But here's the thing. During the initial probation hearing, you had the prosecutor, you had Grace's court-appointed attorney, you had all of these. You had her teacher saying, no, all she needs is just a little bit of help. That's it. She just needs help. She needs attention. Again, the prosecutor said, or asked that she had just been given probation because, look, they don't want her exposed to COVID, and because she's not a criminal by nature. She just needs help. She just needs a little bit of extra attention and people to help keep her from, doing things that are wrong. And so, unfortunately, again, she didn't get that. Her teacher, by the way, had some correspondence with her caseworker, and her caseworker had asked, is there a certain percentage of class that she's supposed to be completing a day every day in a week, or a day out of a week? Grace's teacher, Catherine Tarpit, responded in an email that the teenager was not out of alignment with most of her other students, therefore essentially keeping up with her work, and said, "Let me be clear that this is no one's fault because we did not see this unprecedented global pandemic coming." Grace, she wrote, has a strong desire to do well. She's trying to get to the other side of a steep learning curve mountain, and we have a plan to get her there. Unfortunately, they were not able to enact the plan because of COVID-19. And now, ironically, Grace is in jail for and being exposed probably to COVID-19. The justice system is broken. Grace is just but one example of a system that has failed teenagers, especially young teens of color, all over the country. Our school system is broken. Our system of justice is absolutely broken as well. There is a school to prison pipeline that is going on that does not get enough attention, especially when you are dealing with people who need extra help. There are people that have mood and learning disorders that need extra care and attention. They need social workers, not prison guards. But our system is not designed for that. Our system is not designed to help these people. It is designed to punish people. It is designed to punish the mentally ill. It is designed to punish people of color. And they're the ones that get punished the hardest. Again, would you have seen a white kid, especially one who may have wealthy parents or connected parents in the community, someone who might be powerful? Would you see someone like that go to jail over missing homework and have that count as a violation? Are you kidding me? I mean, go back to for example, someone like Brock Turner, who raped a woman behind a dumpster. And the judge was like, "I'm so worried and concerned about your future. I don't want to ruin this guy's future." Well, what about Grace's future? Again, she's a hard worker. She wants to do well. But she has so many disadvantages in her way that she just needs a little help to get there. Well, they weren't considered at all about her future, about her potential. Instead, they threw her in juvenile lockup, where she is not going to be able to do better, where that's going to impact her, that's going to affect her. And she might even end up with COVID-19. This is our system. It's set up to crush people like Grace for making mistakes. And that's why the system needs to be completely rebuilt from the ground up. Tear it down, rebuild it. We cannot have a carceral system that is based on punishment, but must be based on rehabilitation. And we must have a system of education that takes into account people with special needs, as well as, of course, a justice system that does the same. Right now, we don't have that, and it's a damn shame. It's an absolute travesty. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.